Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. This video is to share the story of Madeline Kingsbury, the 27-year-old mom who went missing from her home in Winona, Minnesota on March 31st of 2023. A story that I should have told on my channel before now, and I fully intended to share the word out that she was missing. But both times I recorded videos to tell it, I found it very difficult to do. Difficult because I tend to be very opinionated. And when I cover true crime stories, I'm passionate about them, and I struggle to keep my strong opinions edited out. Sometimes because I'm not sure they belong, and sometimes because I try to stay mindful that the victims' families may come across my videos and listen. I try hard to walk a line between showing respect for the victims and their families, which is so very important to me, and speaking my mind and staying true to myself in my videos. Because the families are already hurting, hearing my opinion might only add to that pain, and that's the last thing I want to have happen. So, I try to stay mindful of that, but sometimes I go back and listen to my video and think, I probably shouldn't have said that. But then there's no point in doing these videos for me if I can't speak my mind, share my thoughts, and hear your thoughts on cases as well. So, each time I recorded my video about Madeline going missing, I found myself accusing her ex-boyfriend, Adam Fravel, pointing out the reasons why I felt he was involved in her disappearance, why I felt it was obvious that he had done something to her, etc. And I struggled with just sticking to the story, because I felt so passionate about it. But after watching her sister's interviews and seeing that Maddie's family wasn't accusing Adam, I felt that maybe I shouldn't either. But I wanted to so badly. But I felt the family wasn't accusing him publicly because maybe they weren't ready to. So I felt I needed to shelve my video for a bit until I could get myself in check. And I did. But I never got myself in check enough to do it without screaming how guilty I thought he was. And I never ended up putting one out. My gut just wouldn't let it go, and my mouth just wouldn't stay shut. But the family just seemed to remain so hopeful that Maddie would return, and I didn't want to put out into the universe that I felt differently. Now, she's gone. Madeline Kingsbury's body was found by police by the side of a gravel road on June 7th, 2 months after she disappeared. When I heard the heartbreaking news, I didn't even have to keep reading to learn that her ex was arrested for her murder just hours after she was found, because I already knew. Her sister had said that Maddie was leaving Adam at the time of her disappearance. Police found Maddie's purse, cell phone, and wallet left at their house, and Adam's story wasn't adding up. To me, it was just too in-my-face obvious. And to many of you who followed the case, it may have been too. But we still hold out hope, don't we? We hope we're wrong. We really, really hope that this time we've got it wrong. But unfortunately, the more I cover these cases, the patterns become too obvious, and I find that I wish I was wrong much more than I actually am. But what I didn't know was how much more information the police had, which leaves me wondering what took them so long to name Adam as a suspect and take him into custody. As heartbreaking as this story is, and how devastating the outcome, I now feel I can cover it, both properly respecting Maddie and her family and being true to myself, because the truth has come out, as awful as it is. My heart goes out to her family and her two precious children, who have now lost both of their parents. Maddie's story deserves to be told, because it just may save somebody else's life who's in a similar situation. Because maybe one person out there needs to understand that it is said that victims of domestic violence are in the most danger when they try to leave the relationship. Maybe Maddie's story will help somebody take that seriously and take the extra precautions needed to ensure their safety when trying to leave, even if they don't feel like they're in danger. Because you never know. I doubt Maddie knew. May God rest her soul. Here is her story. According to police, Madeline was last seen at her home the morning of March 31st, 2023, by the father of her children. Then, nothing. No trace of Madeline anywhere. Madeline's sister Megan said she texted briefly with her the morning she vanished and said that Madeline and the father of her two children, Adam Fravel, were both seen together dropping their children off at daycare that morning as well. Although we weren't given many details about the relationship between Madeline and Adam at the time of her disappearance, Megan did say that they were no longer boyfriend and girlfriend, and Madeline was planning to move out of their home with her children, but she said she wanted to stay close to Winona so the children could stay in their daycare. Those plans suddenly changed when she disappeared on March 31st. According to Megan, she received a call from their mother around 6 p.m. on the 31st, asking if she had heard from Madeline that day, because their mother was trying to reach her and was getting no response. So, Megan reached out, asking Maddie to contact their mother because she was concerned. Then, Megan got no response from Madeline either. So, other family members and friends of Maddie's were contacted, but nobody had heard from her. Megan said she reached out to Adam as well, but he said he hadn't heard from her either, which he said was not unusual, considering they were no longer in a relationship. So, a police report was made. Police held a press conference during which it was stated that investigators located her phone, the jacket she had been wearing that morning, her wallet, and her ID still in her home. Adam told police he didn't know where Madeline was, and that after they dropped their children off at daycare that morning, they returned back home together. Then he left about an hour and a half later to run errands in Madeline's van. He said he returned home about 3 hours later, and Madeline was gone. Her family began searching for her and organized searches of hundreds and thousands of volunteers to cover as much land as possible. They searched for days with no sign of Madeline. According to Megan, Madeline's precious babies were okay, but the Winona police had the Winona County Health and Human Services remove the children, ages 5 and 2, from their father's care on April 4th because he did not have legal custody of the children, and their mother was missing and possibly endangered. So her children were in good hands, and the searches for Madeline continued without Adam. Yeah, without him. Adam didn't join the search for Maddie. None of them. How do I know? Because he admitted it in a statement that he issued about 12 days after Maddie disappeared. Because he couldn't be bothered joining the press conference or doing any media to help put the word out that Maddie was missing, or plea for her safe return in case anyone took her. No, he didn't do any of it. I mean, she was only the mother of his children. But I guess he had better things to do, you know? Starting to see why I couldn't keep my mouth shut to do a proper video before? I figured you would. But before I get too high and mighty, Adam said he had a very good reason why he didn't help search for Madeline. You know, other than the obvious. But we didn't know that yet, so let me rein it in. Adam said in his statement that the police advised him not to help search for Madeline. Are you ready for it? For his own safety. Yeah. Now you for sure know why I couldn't do this video before. Don't believe me? Here's his statement. Quote, over the course of the last 12 days, my family and I have been subject to a myriad of accusations regarding the disappearance of the mother of my children, Maddie Kingsbury. During these last 12 days, I have cooperated with law enforcement at every turn, including sitting down for multiple interviews with Winona County law enforcement. I did not have anything to do with Maddie's disappearance. I want the mother of my 5-year-old and 2-year-old to be found and brought home safely. I want that more than anything. Law enforcement advised me on April 2nd that they would not recommend that I attend the press conferences or that I assist in the searches due to safety concerns. However, my non-attendance and silence has been inferred by many as a sign of apathy, or worse. That could not be further from the truth. I want Maddie home, and for her to be able to be with our 2 children. God bless the Kingsbury family, and please bring her home safely. Unquote. Yeah, I know. You can stop screaming BS at your screen at me right now, because I can hear you, okay? But I'm with you. And the KARE 11 news article that issued his statement goes on to read that after reading Fravel's statement, they, quote, reached out to the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which was assisting Winona police in the investigation, to ask about Fravel's statement, and received the response of, quote, I'm not aware of any law enforcement advising Mr. Fravel not to attend news conferences or search for Madeline, unquote. And that came from the BCA spokesperson, Bonnie Bowman. Now, I learned about Madeline's disappearance weeks after Adam issued his statement to the public. So, it was one of the first things I read when I started looking into the case, and one of the biggest reasons why I felt I knew he was involved. Because to me, nothing screams I'm guilty more than, well, I couldn't search because I had to look out for my own safety. Even though I'm not the one who mysteriously vanished into thin air under suspicious circumstances. And I'm sorry, but let the police tell me not to search for someone I care about because of concerns for my own safety? They'd have to put me and my happy ass in cuffs and detain me. So that was an easy BS call for me. Then I wondered what kind of danger he would be in doing a press conference. I mean, the police would be present. Even if he just stood there and supported Madeline's family. Another easy BS call. But Fravel's attorney backed him up and said, quote, obviously he's missing the mother of his 2 children. Adam has been consistent with law enforcement from the first time he sat down with them that he didn't have anything to do with Maddie's disappearance. This is the mother of his 2 children. Obviously, he wants her home safe. Unquote. Obviously. Right. So, Adam told police he was running errands when Maddie went missing. So he must have had some receipts to account for his time or something, right? You know, like from the bank, Starbucks, Home Depot for the tarp, shovel, etc., McDonald's for lunch, you know? And he must have provided them to the police if he was cooperating, right? I mean, when I run errands, I have receipts. He had no receipts. Where did he go? You know? Receipts will account for your time. But we didn't hear about any receipts. What we did hear about, though, was police asking for people to turn over camera footage to help them put together his timeline. Doorbell cams, security cams, and trail cams. Along the route Adam told police he drove. But I thought Adam said he was cooperating. I can't imagine he was running errands in the woods. Then police issued a request on April 26th from property owners in the area that they were searching to report any old wells, old homesteads, old windmills, and any sinkholes that they might not know about. Now at this point, it became painfully obvious that police were definitely not buying Adam's BS either. But Maddie's family stayed strong and kept searching for her, as we all prayed that she was just hidden away somewhere and could still be found alive. Then, a long, heart wrenching period of nothing. Adam had a hearing to try to gain custody of their children, but other than that, no news. Until June 7th, when the Winona Police Department announced that human remains were found in some brush off Highway 43 near the town of Mabel. An area investigators said they had searched in April after Fravel told them he traveled toward Mabel while running errands the day Maddie disappeared. But they believe her body wasn't found then because Fravel concealed it. They also said they had video surveillance footage of a van matching the description of Maddie's traveling a road to and from Mabel during the time Adam was gone. But that wasn't all police knew about what happened that day. Shortly after Maddie's remains were found, Adam Fravel was arrested for suspicion of her murder and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. One charge is with intent, and the second is without intent. Now, I'm not an attorney, and I may be wrong all over the place, but I think they charged Adam with both intent to end a life and no intent to end a life to cover all their bases because they don't know yet exactly how Madeline died. It was released that a preliminary autopsy report determined the manner and cause of death as homicide and homicidal violence, but I'm guessing the prosecutor needs to charge him with both in case they aren't sure they can prove that he intended to take her life. I know that sounds awful because violence is violence, but if he claims that he didn't mean to kill her during the commission of the violence, then they have him either way. But, like I said, I could be wrong. I do know that the prosecutor said during a press conference that they couldn't charge him with first-degree murder because that would require a grand jury and the evidence to convince them that her murder was premeditated. And even though he probably did plan it, they have to go with what they can prove. Just awful. I keep thinking about her poor babies. One day they had their mom. The next, she was gone. Even more horrible details known to the police came out in the criminal complaint, which I'm going to read next. So if you're still with me, strap in. It lays out the details, and some are not easy to hear. Here we go. This is the charged complaint. The state of Minnesota versus Adam Taylor Fravel. The complainant submits the complaint to the court and states that there is probable cause to believe defendant committed the following offenses. Count 1, charge, murder in the second degree. Offense date, March 31st of 2023. Maximum sentence, 40 years in prison. Charge 2, murder in the second degree. Charge date, March 31st, 2023. Maximum sentence, 40 years in prison. Okay, statement of probable cause. On March 31st of 2023 at approximately 8:20 p.m., the Winona Police Department was contacted by a person who identified herself as a friend of Madeline Jane Kingsbury, date of birth June 1st, 1996. The friend reported to police that she was concerned with the health and safety of Madeline. According to the friend, Madeline had not attempted to contact or communicate with her throughout the day, which the friend indicated was unusual. The friend was concerned and had gone to Madeline's residence, saw her minivan in the driveway, and knocked on the door, and no one responded. The friend also told police she was aware that Madeline was having issues with her significant other, who also lived at the residence. The friend identified the significant other as Adam Fravel. Winona police officers met the friend at Madeline's residence located in Winona County, Minnesota. An officer knocked on the door of the residence and looked in the windows. No one responded, and the officer did not see anyone inside. Shortly thereafter, officers spoke with Madeline's father on the telephone and learned that her family had also had no contact with her that day. Her father reported that it was uncharacteristic for Madeline not to have contact with family members or friends. A Winona police officer spoke with Adam Taylor Fravel, date of birth January 29, 1994, by telephone. According to Fravel, he had not heard from Madeline since early in the morning, that she was supposed to pick up their children at their Winona daycare after she finished working, but she did not. Fravel stated that he picked up the children at the daycare and took them to his parents' residence in Mabel, Minnesota. Later that evening, officers were able to conduct a welfare check inside the Winona residence and determined that no one was inside the residence. Law enforcement investigators have spoken with the children's daycare provider, who confirmed that both Madeline and Fravel were present when they dropped their children off at daycare on the morning of March 31st of 2023 at approximately 8:05 a.m. The daycare provider also stated that Fravel was alone when he picked up the children at the end of the day. On April 1st of 2023, law enforcement investigators obtained a search warrant for the Madeline/Fravel residence in Winona. The interior of the residence was cluttered, but there did not appear to be any overt signs of a struggle. During the search, law enforcement officers located what investigators later determined to be Madeline's cell phone, jacket, and purse in the residence. Investigators also located a laptop computer that investigators later determined Madeline used to work from home. Investigators later obtained access to the cell phone's databases. It was determined that a text message was sent from the cell phone to Madeline's sister on March 31st, 2023 at 8:15 a.m. Investigators noted that there were no subsequent text messages or phone calls sent from Madeline's cell phone. Law enforcement investigators had follow-up conversations with Adam Fravel on April 1st and April 2nd, 2023. During these conversations, Fravel told investigators that he had met Madeline at college in Winona and that they had an on and off again relationship for the past 7 years. Fravel stated that they have 2 children, ages 5 and 2. Fravel indicated that Madeline worked from home and in Rochester, Minnesota. Fravel stated Madeline would generally travel to Rochester to work on Mondays and Fridays. Fravel acknowledged that Madeline was the primary income producer for the family, and she would forward him money electronically to pay the family bills. Fravel acknowledged that recently their relationship was not working, so they decided to separate and were in the process of moving out of their Winona residence. Madeline had been looking at different apartments in the area for her and her children to live in. Fravel indicated that about 2 weeks ago, Madeline had told him that she had begun a relationship with another man, but that he did not know how long the relationship had been going on. Fravel stated that on Friday, March 31st of 2023, together he and Madeline dropped their children at daycare at around 8 a.m., and they drove home. Once they arrived, Madeline stated that she had an online meeting and afterwards was going to Rochester for work. He indicated he observed Madeline go downstairs to her home office. Also during the conversations, Fravel stated that he had planned to do property storage runs most of that day. His plan was to travel to his parents' home near Mabel, Minnesota, with items he wanted to store at his parents' residence, and return to Winona and take items to Midwest Storage, located in Winona. Fravel indicated that prior to leaving for Mabel, he had stopped at a gas station near his Winona residence. He said that when he loaded up Madeline's van, he wasn't really paying attention to what he was loading. Fravel believed he left his residence and began driving the van to Mabel at approximately 10:15 a.m. Fravel continued with the following information. Fravel stated that when he got to Choice, an area in Fillmore County, he started thinking about what he was going to do. He said he looked into the rear of the van and realized the items he had were meant to be stored at the storage unit, not his parents' place. He turned around the driveway of a barn in Choice and drove back to his residence in Winona. Fravel believed he arrived at the residence at about 11:30 a.m. and emptied the van at the Madeline/Fravel residence. Fravel stated that he did not make any stops on his trip to and from Choice. When he entered the residence, he did not see Madeline. He stated he did notice his car was still home and thought that Madeline may have carpooled to Rochester. Fravel stated that he remained at the residence for the remainder of the afternoon. During this time, he texted Madeline, but never got a response. Eventually, he went downstairs, and Madeline was not there. He stated that he texted Madeline regarding picking up the kids and asked about plans for supper. When she did not respond, he decided to pick up the children at daycare and drive them to his parents' residence in Mabel. Also, during their conversations with Fravel, law enforcement disclosed to Fravel a concerned person's report that Fravel told Madeline that if she did not listen up, that she would end up like Gabby Petito. Now, this isn't in the report, I'm just filling you in here. You probably have heard of the Gabby Petito case, since it was worldwide and it was pretty recent, but if you, for any reason, are not familiar, Gabby Petito was also murdered by her boyfriend. She was in a domestic violence situation. She was traveling cross country on a trip with her boyfriend, and she also disappeared. So, that is what his threat was to Madeline, according to this document. Fravel admitted being infatuated with the Gabby Petito case. Fravel also admitted that he made a statement to Madeline about her ending up like Gabby Petito. Fravel claimed he was trying to make a joke. Sorry, veering again from the document. What exactly is so funny about a woman being murdered by her boyfriend? Am I missing something? Because I'm not exactly sure how that's a joke. But, you know, I guess this guy's pretty twisted, so maybe he finds something like that funny. I don't think the rest of us do, but whatever. Back to the document. The Gabby Petito case made national news. It was the story of a 22-year-old woman who went missing. After extensive searches, Petito's remains were found near a park in Wyoming. It was reported Petito died of strangulation. The media also reported that Petito's fiancé claimed responsibility for her death in a notebook. Investigating officers spoke with a friend of Madeline, who indicated that sometime in 2020 or 2021, she was on a video call with Madeline, who was at her Winona residence. Madeline was standing up, holding one of her children, and cooking dinner. The friend observed Fravel enter the room and yell at Madeline to keep quiet. Madeline asked Fravel to calm down, and he stated that he was not going to calm down, and struck Madeline in the face with his hand. It appeared that Fravel was not aware that he was being observed on the video call, as when the friend yelled at Fravel over the video call, he immediately left the room. The friend told investigators that there were several times during video calls that she observed bruises on Madeline's face. When the friend inquired about the bruises, Madeline would cover them with her sweater. Investigators spoke with a family member of Madeline's. During that conversation, the family member discussed an earlier incident. The family member said she learned Fravel put his hands around Madeline's throat. The family member went with another person to go get Madeline. The family member noted Madeline had a red mark on the side of her neck that day. Pursuant to search warrants, investigating officers conducted forensic extractions on 2 Apple iPhones believed to belong to Madeline. A review of the forensic extractions of these 2 phones revealed Kingsbury as the owner and user. There were messages, as well as screenshots of messages between Madeline and Fravel, dating back numerous years. One screenshot, taken on September 21st of 2021, contained the following message conversation between Madeline and Fravel. Maddie, you know I'm not really okay with or over the fact that you put your hand around my neck and pushed me down in front of the kids earlier, so don't. Maddie, again. Not okay with it all, but especially with them there. Fravel, you'll adjust. Maddie, the fuck I will. Maddie again. You do that again without asking me, and you can go somewhere else. Fravel, you got it, mother. Maddie, don't patronize me. That crossed a line. Fravel, then mind. Maddie, stop. Then mind, huh? Okay, back to the document. Law enforcement investigators were able to obtain videos from security cameras and motion detection video devices at multiple residences and businesses located in the Winona neighborhood where Madeline Kingsbury and Adam Fravel resided, and along the route Fravel stated he took toward his parents' residence the morning of March 31st of 2023. The videos reveal the following events from March 31st, 2023. At 9:44 a.m., Madeline's van is observed in the driveway of the Madeline/Fravel residence in Winona. A person in a light-colored coat is observed walking up to the front of the van, bends over, and appears to remove the front license plate on the van. 9:47 a.m. The van is still in the driveway, and the same person is observed kneeling in front of the van and appears to be reinstalling a license plate. 9:55 a.m. A person wearing a light-colored coat or sweatshirt gets into Madeline's van while it's parked in the driveway and the Madeline/Fravel residence in Winona. 10 a.m. The van is no longer at the residence. 10:02 a.m. The van is observed parked at the gas station where Fravel said he had gotten gas, and a person wearing a light-colored jacket and matching the general description of Adam Fravel is observed pumping gas. Investigators also noted that the license plate on the van matched the license plate registered to the car Fravel normally drives, and not the plate registered to the van. Investigating officers noticed that when they observed the van later in the evening on March 31st and on April 1st of 2023, the license plates registered to the van were back on the van. 10:31 a.m. The van is observed backed into the driveway at the Madeline/Fravel residence in Winona. 11:25 a.m. The van is observed driving away from the residence. 11:44 a.m. A van matching the description of Madeline's van is observed traveling southbound on Highway 43 in the direction of Rushford and Mabel, Minnesota. 11:55 a.m. A van matching the description of Madeline's van is observed traveling southbound on Highway 43 in Rushford and in the direction of Mabel. 11:59 a.m. A van matching the description of Madeline's van is observed traveling southbound on Highway 43 south of Rushford and in the direction of Choice and Mabel, Minnesota. 12:44 p.m. Approximately 45 minutes later, a van matching the description of Madeline's van is observed on a video from the same location traveling northbound on Highway 43 in the direction of Rushford and Winona. 12:47 p.m. A van matching the description of Madeline's van is observed traveling northbound on Highway 43 in Rushford. 1 p.m. A van matching the description of Madeline's van is observed traveling northbound on Highway 43 and turned east onto Winona County Road 12 in the direction of Winona. 1:25 p.m. A van matching the description of Madeline's van is observed in the driveway of her Winona residence. As part of their investigation, law enforcement officers traveled the route Fravel stated he drove on the morning of March 31st, 2023. Investigators noticed that with the exception of the 45-minute time period between the time he is observed traveling south of Rushford on Highway 43 and later at the same location traveling northbound on Highway 43, the times are consistent with normal expected travel times between the locations. On June 7th of 2023, a deputy from the Fillmore County Sheriff's Office was searching a rural area in Fillmore County next to a public gravel road approximately 1 mile from Highway 43 between Choice and Mabel, Minnesota. Investigating officers learned that this property had been routinely maintained by one or more Probable family members. This property was also near the residence of Probable's parents. While searching the property, the deputy located human remains in the culvert adjoining the gravel road. The remains had been wrapped in what appeared to be a gray fitted bed sheet that had been closed with black gorilla tape. Investigators noted that during a previous search of the Madeline/Fravel Winona residence, they observed a roll of black gorilla tape that appears to be the same color and width as the tape found on the fitted sheet that Madeline was wrapped in. Investigators also noted that the gray fitted sheet appears to be similar to other bedding at the Winona residence. Additionally, the air mattress from the Winona residence was missing a fitted sheet. On top of the air mattress, without a fitted sheet, were pillows that had gray pillowcases. The human remains were transferred to the Southern Minnesota Regional Medical Examiner's Office in Rochester, Minnesota. The medical examiner's office identified the human remains as Madeline Jane Kingsbury from dental records and tattoos. The medical examiner noted that a knotted towel had been wrapped around Madeline's head and neck. The medical examiner's office performed an autopsy. A preliminary autopsy report determined the manner and cause of death as homicide and homicidal violence. And then it says, please take notice, pursuant to Minnesota, I assume statute 609.49, intentional failure to appear for duly scheduled court appearances may schedule in criminal charges, blah, 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 blah. So that is the criminal complaint. I wonder if they had the video of Adam changing the license plate before he left that day. If they could prove, and they knew that was the van on the road, they knew he lied about when he arrived back home. His story wasn't adding up. And I just wonder what took them so long to arrest him. What took them so long to name him as a suspect? That had to be absolute hell for the family if they suspected him, which, I mean, I believe they did, but like I said, I held off doing the video because they weren't talking about it and they weren't accusing him. And I figured they had reason for it. Either they knew something that we didn't, they knew he wasn't involved and I was wrong, or they were told not to say anything, hoping that, I don't know, he would mess up and give himself away. And here we are. This is an awful story. I can't even imagine what the family's going through. And all I can think to do is pray for them all. Madeline's case has haunted me since the moment I read about it, and I imagine it will for a while. I pray for her family and loved ones, and for her 2 babies who will never understand why they had to grow up without her, or how they will ever even try to wrap their heads around the fact that their father murdered their mother. Unreal. Thank you all so very much for listening. If you liked this video, please consider liking it and subscribing. If not, please feel free to thumb it down. That's alright too. At least you heard Madeline's story, and that's all that really matters. Please, stay safe out there, and I'll see you on my next video.